Hi, I'm Claire Fallon.
I'm Emma Gray.
And I'm Leigh Blickley. We're the hosts of Here to Make Friends in Quarantine,
Our weekly look at Bachelor Nation
in the time of Corona. So before we get into the news and our little Listen to Your Heart recap this week, we wanted to highlight the fact that Here to Make Friends was nominated for a Webby Award, and we are so excited. The voting period is shorter this year, so we would so appreciate it if you would go to thewebbyawards.com and look us up. We are under the category of general series in podcasts and the subcategory TV and film. I know it's a lot, but seriously, it will take 20 seconds. We are up against actual celebrities and Masterpiece Studio. So we're getting clobbered, but please just give us a vote and we'll love you forever.
But let's get into some news. The universe and Netflix heard the cries of a lonely nation, and they are bringing us more Too Hot to Handle. Extra Hot, the reunion, is coming to Netflix this Friday. And we are super excited that we saw some stills of what was clearly a Zoom chat of the contestants featuring Harry with a ring pop. So hopefully there will be some exciting new events from this reunion. And a little news update from a non-couple, now a couple from Too Hot to Handle. Bryce and Nicole are dating. Who saw that coming?
Not me, but I'm here for it.
Who are they again?
No. Honestly, I was waiting all season for Nicole to have any sort of love connection, and clearly the atmosphere on the island just didn't work for her. So I'm glad to see that something blossomed nevertheless.
Me too.
Clearly Zoom makes relationships happen. That's where the love blossoms. Congratulations, Bryce. You don't deserve her. Let's move on to another couple from Bachelor Nation, which
official.
Is, of course, yes, Peter and Kelley made it official, or at least on Instagram. Peter posted a sweet photo of them and a snap from the season, and he wrote, "You caught me. Let the adventure begin." Ladies, are we happy? Are we happy it's official?
Yeah, I'm into it for them. I'm worried for Kelley because Barb has already posted a compilation, photo series of them. So I think she's stepping into some intense family dynamics, but I'm here for it. On to Listen to Your Heart. Great episode this week. I mean, high on the drama and some pretty decent singing and Toni Braxton. So I was very on board with this episode. I can't believe we only have 2 weeks left. This show is too short given that we're in quarantine.
It's better than any episode of Pilot Pete's season. I am going to miss it so much. I can't believe we only have 2 episodes left.
I mean, this week was the week that I really got on board with Listen to Your Heart because I wasn't really feeling it until this. But when Chris Harrison comes in to the house and says that they're all going to be assigned to go out on dates outside of their existing pairs, I was like, oh yeah, this is the content that I need.
Yeah, this is the Bachelor realness. This is putting people in unnecessarily high pressure situations that would never exist in the real world purely to create chaos. And I was very here for it. And it did create chaos, namely within the love quadrangle of Julia, Sheridan, Brandon, and Savannah, all of whom, spoiler alert, ended up going home.
Yeah, because of course the producers were like, we need to send Brandon and Julia on a date because we need to just wreck every relationship that we have going so far.
I just feel like I don't think I can do this with you.
Were you guys surprised that Brandon and Julia made the switch and ended up together and Savannah and Sheridan ended up leaving, or not surprised at all?
I actually was surprised. I was surprised, first of all, by the twist, which worked out really well for the contestants that they had, to the point that I sort of wondered if it wasn't in the original plan. And then they saw that the 2 couples were sort of settling into place, and they were like, but what if we added a twist that would really screw things up? Some other couples have to get split up too, but they're really solid. And so when they come back from these setup dates, they're even more committed to their original pairings. Clearly, the Julia love triangle situation was the one that was going to create chaos. And I nevertheless really thought that Brandon didn't really want to switch to Julia, and so it would just create a renewed angst for Julia, and that they would have to go back to a similar situation as the last episode. And instead, Brandon kind of loses control of the situation and ends up having to pair with Julia.
And then reveals to Natasha in front of Julia that he didn't actually want to pick her, as though like that wouldn't be a thing that would get back to Julia. The entire situation was wild. I'm sorry, Brandon sucks.
Yeah,
He
real
treated
bad.
everyone terribly. Julia did not come off great, but like Brandon propelled this situation. We see him kind of talking down to Savannah, kind of gaslighting both of them. And also he is like the most unattractive sing face.
It's a sign of weakness when I don't know what to say.
I'm off board with
He
Brandon.
just wants to be a solo artist. He was not here to find his musical partnership. He was here to just go on stage and make sure everyone knew his name.
Shout out to Savannah for an excellent exit in which she did not accept like the scraps of Brandon. It was just like, I don't trust you. You're kind of terrible. Like, I'm going to leave. Goodbye.
Who do you guys think is going to, out of the remaining couples, come away with the win?
Chris and Bree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're good, solid singers. They have obvious chemistry, and they're like very willing to play into the very quick Bachelor timeline of starting to falling in love, and then being in love.
Yeah,
They
saying
saw
I
it
love you.
on stage.
I
Yeah.
know, in front of the whole audience.
Is the entire premise of this show extremely flawed? Yes.
Yes.
Are we enjoying it? Also, yes. And speaking of the drama that we saw unfold on this week's episode, we actually got a chance to speak to one of the people who is at the center of all of it, Julia Rae. I was really struck by the conversation that we got to see this week between Brandon and Savannah, in which he was almost kind of like talking down to her and almost gaslighting her. Watching that back, did that kind of change the way that you thought about him?
Yes. I mean, yes and no. I could recognize that behavior in him as well when he was with me. As soon as we made the decision to move forward together, or kind of, he didn't really make that decision, I realized that I was so wrong about him, and I should never have left Sheridan. And that kind of put me on the track that got me to the point that I was with Natasha when she came forward with the information she came forward with. You know, he is a smooth talker, and yeah.
I mean, let's talk about Natasha. She asked Brandon if he would have stuck with Savannah if she had decided to stay, and he told her yes, he would have. She told you that right before your performance, and you reacted pretty poorly to that, understandably. You called her a bully and a bad person. Do you stand by that, or do you think that it was just a reaction to everything that was going on?
I think it was a reaction to everything that was going on. I think her timing was so off, and I still stand by that. I don't think as a performer, if you respect another performer, you would never say that to them 40 minutes before they have to take the stage. It did feel like sabotage. I think, yeah, she was telling the truth, but she should have pulled me aside right when she told me to put earmuffs over my ears, which what the heck was I thinking there too? I don't know. I was such an emotional wreck at that point that I just was like, whatever. Yeah, let's play this game. And I think she had the opportunity to then say, hey, when I told you to put earmuffs on, this is what he said. I think things would have gone differently for her and I. I reached out to her as well after filming, and I said, like, hey, obviously there was drama, as we would expect there would be. Wish you well. I haven't heard back, but I still feel the same way. Like, I wish her well, and I don't think she was malicious. I hope she wasn't malicious. I think the timing and her choice was not the greatest.
In terms of your performance for episode 4, Did you kind of agree with what the judges were saying? How did it feel for you standing next to Brandon singing together?
I felt like he hung me out to dry. And I think that's why I got so upset. I mean, I know that's why I got so upset afterwards. I was just kind of destroyed that things had gone the way they had gone, and everything was so off the tracks, and it was my fault. And I just made really poor decisions, and it kind of blew up in my face.
Yeah, it's interesting coming from like a not singing or performance background. Never asked me to sing. I'm not good at it. But it's interesting to sort of figure out what it is about a singing performance that makes it come through for the audience. And I'm curious what you think Brandon was leaving off the stage. You know, like what should he have been bringing to these performances that he wasn't?
So what was weird for me and the disconnect for me with Brandon is when we were practicing the song, he would look me in the eyes and the connection was there. But then when we went on stage for our sound check, he treated it like a solo show. And I was like, yo, you can't do that. This is not what this is about. And he said something like, well, just touch me to remind me that you're there. And I was like, no.
Yikes. Oh my God.
So I think like, honestly, the weird thing for me now looking back is the music connection was so strong between Sheridan and I. I could never, you know, I grew up acting. I could never act like that well with my performances with Sheridan. Like the reason they came across to be the way that they were is because that was real. That was where our connection actually flourished. And the music connection with Brandon is where it was exposed that we actually were such an ill fit.
Thanks so much for tuning in. You can listen to our full chat with Julia Rae on the podcast. Find it on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
We hope you join us next Wednesday for a new episode of Here to Make Friends in Quarantine.
Please stay safe and healthy.